Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are on Love 99.5 FM in a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Dreams FM and A1 Radio in Bolga, Tanga, Ganga FM in Jirapa, ATL FM in Cape Coast, and Kekeli Radio in Ho. We're live on Twitter Spaces. We're on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience, and Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, barely 24 hours after announcing a May deadline to secure an IMF deal, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is urging caution as he points out an outstanding critical requirement which is simply out of the nation's control.
I think one has to be, really cautious about that, waiting on the Paris Club to submit the assurances. So the sooner that comes, the sooner we will get to go to board, and then for the board to work on that.
We'll get to hear from Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, who says the legislative body must be tough in checking government policies going forward to prevent reckless borrowing.
It cannot be business as usual, overspending our means and then borrowing to fill that gap. The evidence is that it has not been helpful.
Meanwhile, NDC flag bearer hopeful John Dramani Mahama is questioning the competence of Ghana's economic management, insisting it lacks the credibility to be trusted to turn around the economy.
And the person who said they were moving from taxation to production, today he's quiet when they're piling on more taxes on businesses. And that was the mistake the people of Ghana made, because we have come to realize that after all, we have the men. It was station boys. They don't know anything.
We have details as he announces his goal of setting up a governance advisory council to check human rights abuses following a worrying report by U.S. State Department.
U.S. human rights report has come out, and it makes very bad reading. Human rights abuses, corruption, torture, so many things.
Also this afternoon, Joy News investigations reveal uncertainty among staff of Ghana's biggest cocoa buying company, PBC, as it records 1.9 billion cedi decline in revenue in a period of just 4 years.
As we speak, we don't know when our next salary payment is coming, and we have no idea.
We bring you details of our latest hotline documentary, PBC Troubles in Sports.
How does it feel when you score a first European club competition goal 6 years after moving to Europe? A Black Star speaks in 20 minutes.
And later in the bulletin, the controversy over Gari and beans, or is it Gobe?
That the Ghana word, yo, ke tatale, yo, ke Gari, should now give way to something they call Gobe.
It's not evolution of
There is nothing evolution. That is why we are telling that what we are doing is dangerous.
You for just get national award. You be my.
Stay for more Yokogari right here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Please stay on for details. Many thanks for your company this afternoon. Barely 24 hours after announcing a May deadline to secure an IMF deal, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is this afternoon urging caution as he points out an outstanding critical requirement which is simply out of the nation's control. That's Ghana's creditors must submit assurances of agreeing to restructure debt to the IMF board. Well, this requirement, Mr. Ofori-Atta says, is not within the nation's control, despite admitting that the creditors have already given Ghana the assurance of doing so. More on this shortly, but first, listen to Ken Ofori-Atta announce the May deadline while engaging investors in Washington, D.C. yesterday.
We do at this time expect IMF board approval in May at the latest and contemplate a rapid negotiation of a memorandum of understanding with our official creditors. We hope that we could reach an agreement in principle with you, our Eurobond holders, quickly as well, and stand at your entire disposal to move as quickly and cooperatively as possible. We understand that this is a challenging time for all of us, and it is not an easy task for you to commit
Well, Mr. Oforiatta addressed a news conference late last night. He was asked how certain he was of the May deadline he announced earlier in the day. Well, listen to him urge caution but insists the nation has so far received positive assurances.
We are very optimistic that we will land well and land soon. And so I guess you are asking what is the definition of soon? How soon is soon? I think one has to be, really cautious about that. Obviously, you have heard Crystalina, Managing Director of the fund, talking with a lot of sort of a positive air to that. So the real challenge really is that maybe 2 or 3 elements. One, Ghana has done what it should do to give all the necessary responses to the fund, including the very difficult debt exchange that we went through. Secondly, now waiting on the Paris Club to submit the assurances. So the sooner that comes, the sooner we will get to go to board, and then for the board to work on that. So that then becomes, sort of the hard facts that we have to deal with.
So let's head live to Washington, D.C. now, shall we? Joy Business Editor George Riafe was at that news conference. He joins us live now. George, so the minister gave some additional details on the engagement with the creditors, particularly China, and its participation in the Paris Club meetings. Let's talk about it.
Well, Emefa, you're right on that one. And he specifically mentioned their respective Minister of Finance based on the engagement that he has had with that minister of that country. He showed that the assurance will come from China. Let's listen to the Finance Minister.
China, as you know, we visited on March 22nd. We had excellent meetings with the finance minister, in which he was very clear that these were short-term problems that Ghana was seeing. He was very confident about our future in the medium and long term, and committed that they would work on our case to be able to give the appropriate assurances to the Paris Club. They have thus joined all of the Paris Club meetings that we have had, and we do expect them to offer these assurances in the coming weeks to the Paris Club, so that they will then submit to the fund.
But George, Ken Oforiatta also touched on what the implications will be should this assurance from the creditors delay.
Yeah, Emefa, you're right on that one. And the minister argued that just like how other countries have experienced some challenges even after getting the financial assurance, that would not be different for Ghana. Let's hear the minister give further details on why he's urging Ghanaians to be a little bit cautious despite the progress that they've made.
The costs are actually quite, it's quite an expensive issue with regards to how long you stay in this. And that was part of our caution when we decided to go into negotiations through the Common Framework platform, because we had seen Ethiopia 2-3 years, Zambia also that, and it creates very serious anxiety and dislocation in the economy. And that's what Mr. Mopas must have been referring to as hugely costly for these countries. We have, as you know, been able to get a staff level agreement within 5 5 months or so, able to complete domestic exchange program in short order. Paris Club working really very hard to make sure they bring these assurances. So we are on record time.
And in wrapping up with you, George, very briefly, what does today look like at the spring meeting?
Well, still trying to wrap up on some engagement. There have been some initial engagement with these investors who are here, as well as the multilateral partners like the African Development Bank and even the World Bank, closing the notes on some of these assurances that they've gotten from these partners. So the Minister of Finance is going to do that. We also be having the African Department or the IMF also giving us some update in terms of their projections, the growth outlook for Africa. And even Ghana, we'll be seeking to get some update, Emefa, on Ghana's program as in where we are right now and whether that May deadline would really be achieved.
That's Joy Business Editor George Riafe reporting live from Washington, D.C. We can hear from economist Professor Lord Mensah, who says Ghana's delegation must provide adequate information to all creditors to enable them trust the nation.
We have, underplay the complexity of our external creditors and how they stand. We look at the geographic, locations of these external creditors. We're looking at some of the conditions they gave us and how diverse they are. Okay. Very, very important. What we need now as a country is what we call creditor coordination. Creditor coordination, very, very important to ensure that information about Ghana, information about negotiations are equal in front of all our creditors. Very, very important.
Now, the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Kweku Kwatin, says it cannot be business as usual once government secures the deal.
That we will act differently. Many of us feel very committed to that. There's no point in being partisan in Parliament and just okaying everything that government brings because you're in the same party. Only for you to see your country go through some of these embarrassing experiences about begging people for forgiveness. Ghana is a very proud country. And I think what is happening now should signal to all of us as politicians that things will have to change. And Parliament, as far as we can, we will do our part. We would exert whatever influence we have in ensuring that the right thing gets done. It is also my plea to the executive that it cannot be business as usual, overspending our means and then borrowing to fill that gap. The evidence is that it has not been helpful. I don't doubt that COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war have impacted us negatively. But as is the story here in Washington, when COVID came, those that had good immune systems were able to withstand it more than those whose immune systems were weak.
Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has questioned the competence of government's economic management team, insisting it lacks the credibility to be trusted to turn around the economy. Mr. Mahama this morning started his tour of the Greater Accra region with a visit to the Kpong Katamanso constituency, where he interacted with delegates. Listen to him criticize government's handling of the economy so far.
In 2016, our colleagues, the MPP, told a lot of lies about us. They labeled us as incompetent. And they came with a lot of big and sweet promises to the people of Ghana and used that to persuade people that there will be a better government than we were. And so the people of Ghana tried them by voting for them. They said they should try them. Somishe, try me and see. And that was the mistake the people of Ghana made. Because we have come to realize that after all, we have the men. It was station boys. They don't know anything. If you take our ministers who were running this country in 2016 and compare with their ministers who are running Ghana today, pound for pound, our ministers were far better than any of them. People who said that we had put too much power generation and that we had signed too many power purchase agreements. Just last week, they signed another power purchase agreement. If we had signed too many power purchase agreements, why are you signing another one today? One village, one dam, one district, one factory. Recently, I was watching a documentary on Joy. Most of those factories are not even working. And so it's just a hoax. It was just to persuade Ghanaians.
Well, Mr. Mahama has been touching on other issues also. He describes as disturbing findings of a recent U.S. State Department report on human rights abuses in Ghana. Recently, the U.S. Human Rights Report has come out, and it makes very bad reading. Human rights abuses, corruption, torture, so many things, discrimination, everything. Go and read that report. We will set up a governance advisory council, and that governance advisory council would include civil society organizations, religious leaders, chiefs, and ordinary grassroots people. And every year, that council will release a report on the state of human rights, corruption, and everything in Ghana. It will release a report on our governance. That's former President John Dramani Mahama off to the Ashanti region now, where an independent candidate for the Kumewu by-election continues to gain popularity in the constituency as many show interest in the parliamentary seat. Kwekudia lost to deceased MP Philip Boswa by less than 3,000 votes in the 2020 parliamentary election. He believes developmental projects he's funded in the area puts his candidature ahead of others.
When I lost 2020 elections, I did not say, oh, okay, that is up to Honorable Boswa to do whatever. Let me sit back and see, wait and see. No, I didn't do that. I jumped into action. I raised my boots and jumped into action. And all these things that I'm talking about, there are some posters around town. Maybe you might have come across one or two. It is titled Madansi Nye. This is my witness. And you have photographs of all these things that I'm talking about. They are all there, and people can lead you to them if you ask. These are the things that I've been doing since 2020. I did not abandon my people.
We know that 8 people, including Dr. Abuaji Da Costa, are expected to file their nomination to contest in the upcoming by-election on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party in Kumewu. Osei Shidi is the first to have submitted his nomination forms. Nanaya Ojima joins us on the phone with more. So how many have filed nominations so far?
So far, we have 2 people coming in to file their nominations. Osei Shidi was the first to come in, and moments ago we had Ernest Yawani also coming in with his supporters to also file his nomination.
Now, tell us a bit more about campaigning so far for this particular seat.
So far, the independent candidate and also the candidate for the National Democratic Congress have moved in action. They are already going around campaigning to the people of Kumewu to vote them as MPs. Though the New Patriotic Party is yet to elect their candidate for the election, the party is also on the ground, already going through the constituency, campaigning to these constituents. So all the 3 people or the 3 parties who we know are contesting the elections are on the ground working tirelessly to win the seat.
That's my colleague Nanaya Ojima. More politics. And latest survey conducted by the Global Info Analytics shows that up to 65% of Ghanaians disapprove of how President Akufo-Addo is running the country. Well, this dip in the president's approval rating, according to the Global Info Analytics, is mainly related to the management of the economy and the current economic crisis. Musa Dankwa is the executive director of Global Info Analytics.
I think one could attribute that to maybe the tightening of economic situation. We saw in January slight improvement in his approval rating. And I think between that period and now, people feel that things have kind of reversed a bit, but not to the level that we saw in October. So you can see that it's a slight dip in his approval rating from, I think, 59 to 65% disapproval.
That's Global Info Analytics Musa Dankwa. Now, it's a tale of uncertainty among staff of Ghana's biggest indigenous cocoa buying company, PBC. Well, as the company continues to post huge revenue losses, according to its audited report cited for 2020, the company lost 1.9 billion cedis within a period of 4 years. In our latest hotline documentary, PBC Troubles, Joy News investigative desk explores what might be accounting for the steep decline in PBC's market share from 30.88% in 2016 to 8% in 2021.
In August 2022, a circular copied all staff indicated that payment of salaries would delay due to the current financial challenges facing the company. When we spoke to the staff who pleaded anonymity in November 2022, he told Joy News their salaries delayed for 3 months last year. It was not only difficult for many to fend for themselves, but their families as well.
Staff salary, they were owing us 3 months, but currently they've paid the 3 months. But as we speak, we don't know when our next salary payment is coming, and we have no idea.
He said it was now difficult for staff to access welfare loans from the company, which wasn't the norm in recent past.
Okay, the welfare fund is a revolving fund. So they wrote to us that there are no funds available. So nobody should apply for welfare loan.
So dire is the financial situation that PBC suspended the intake of national service personnel for the 2022-2023 year. In a circular cited by Joy News, the Human Resource Manager William Ayusi cited the current financial challenges of the company as the reason. In January 2022, PBC wrote to the Ministry of Employment about its intention to restructure the company, including downsizing its staff. It cited the prevailing financial and operational downturn, making it difficult to pay staff and meet its obligations to stakeholders. It said the staff who would be affected by the downsizing are those without establishment. Our sources suggest that when CocoaBot secured the cocoa syndicated loan last year, it loaned PBC with an estimated 350 million Ghana cedis. Management used 50 million cedis to cover staff remuneration and other administrative expenses. The national projection PBC set for itself for the 2022-2023 main crop season was to purchase 170,000 tons of cocoa. But with the limited funds in PBC's account, this target remains a pipe dream and leaves staff in another boat of uncertainty on what fate hangs on the survival of PBC and possible payment of their remuneration.
We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News, sponsored by Petrol Sol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. We've been talking about that May deadline that has been announced by the finance minister, but he's urging caution as he points out an outstanding critical requirement, which is simply out of the nation's control. We'll return with sports and then later the controversy over Gary and beans.
That the Ghana word, yo, ketatale, yo, kegari, should now give way to something they call gobe.
It's not evolution of...
There is nothing evolution. That is why we are telling that what we are doing is dangerous.
You for just get national award, Gary. You be my...
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, e no bath, e no chop, when e vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You no get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey. Hajia, our life was in dangerous.
Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
This is the Midday News, and it's time for some sporting action. Michelle is in the studio. We're talking Ashimiro today.
Yes, and I'm sure you know him.
Yeah, I've heard about him.
All right, he's a Black Stars midfielder featured recently in the last round of international games. He moved to Europe in 2017. He signed with Red Bull, went on loan to 4 different clubs, and he's now with that 4th club, the most recent of that club, Anderlecht. And just last night, he scored his first European club competition goal in the European Conference League for Anderlecht against AZ Alkmaar, and that gave them a 2-0 win in the first leg of the European Conference League quarter-final. And he says scoring for the first time in 6 years and after 21 European club competition goals was a very great feeling.
It feels really really great because I've been waiting for a long time for this moment, and I think it's the right moment to score my first goal in Europe.
So there's more reaction to his goal on myjoyonline.com/sports.
I bet they are talking about it on social media
exactly,
as well.
Yes.
Okay. Many more to go for him. We wish him all the best.
Yes, that's all for sports. But at 1:15, we'll have game plan on the same dial.
Can't wait for it. Michelle, thank you for sports. Now, the Ghana Boundary Commission is facilitating the construction of the first feeder road to the border community of Dollar Power in the Savannah region. Well, this follows a visit by the Commission to the area in 2021. The road is being constructed by the Ministry of Roads with the 48 Engineers Regiment as contractors. While addressing the press during a visit to the area and a community sensitization program, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, said the road will help with the regular inspection of the international boundary line between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire and patrols by security agencies. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
Tucked away from the eagle eyes of security agencies, some residents here are causing devastating damage to the environment with impunity. The lack of roads at Dollar Power has made policing very difficult. There is no police station. This has given rise to many challenges like illegal mining and more. Speaking during a sensitization program organized by the Ghana Boundary Commission, DC for the area, Veronica Alele, says the construction of the road will make the community easily accessible.
Bridge, you know, enra womu de womu niema nyina besi ho se womu be ye bridge no na womu yi kwan omu be yi kwan no fe e di amamu. We need to give them a feeder road because the border itself is motor lane. So if we have a feeder road, it will help the forestry to monitor the activities. It will also help the people themselves to actually monitor activities of criminals and all sorts of people.
A core function of the Ghana Boundary Commission is identifying challenges in border communities and collaborating with relevant state institutions to address them. National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, says the Commission is facilitating the construction of a road. He says this will help with the regular inspection of the international boundary line between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. It will also help with regular patrols by the security agencies.
One of the key challenges that we found out here is accessibility, especially road accessibility to the area. As a result of that, security agencies and other agencies are not able to undertake. One thing we have done as a boundary commission is to facilitate the construction of feeder roads.
Major General Emmanuel Kotia, National Coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission, ending Maxwell Agbagba's report. I'll take you to the Ashanti region, and parents of contestants of the Love FM primary school quiz are positive of an overwhelming victory for the awards as 3 primary schools in the Ashanti region face off in the academic battle. While defending champions Mana International School will clash with debutant finalists Mata Devi Basic School and Divine Mission Academic later this afternoon. All 3 schools are poised to clinch the bragging rights as the best primary school in the region and a cozy flight from Kumasi to Accra, amongst other coveted prizes.
Is correct for 3 points.
After weeks of intellectual exchanges, the 3 schools will make their final statements at the grand finale. Each school would have to amass the much coveted points to grab the grand prize. Parents of the contestants are rallying solidly behind the awards.
I prayed for him, I encouraged him. I told him he will win, so he should be calm.
I'm speechless. We just don't know what to do. And even now, where they have reached is something we are very proud of. Family, my friends, they all come to the event center.
I have prayed for her, and I know that she will definitely win.
Reigning champions Mana International School are promising an exciting contest as they deliver their best to retain their title.
We can only promise you the best of Mana International School. The great Mana always lives. Yeah!
First-time finalist Martha Davy Basic School is leaving no stone unturned.
We are going to win. This time we are going to take the trophy from Mana International School.
Now, the name Gobe, which translates into gari, oil, beans, and egg, which has become the slang for yokagari, is generating some controversy. Former Attorney General Ayiko is not happy at all with what he describes as the subtle attempt to deface the Ga language. More importantly, he's unhappy with the replacement of the favorite meal, gari and beans, with Gobe. Listen.
We used to show your Kotkali or your Ketatali. All of us said Gobe.
Yes.
When?
It's the official representation.
When you were growing up, did you hear anything called Gobe?
Not at all.
So why is it that the Ga word, yo, Ketatale, yo, Kegari, should now give way to something they call Gobe?
It's not evolution of...
There is nothing evolution. That is why we are telling you that what we are doing is dangerous. And you should stop it. You should stop it. Yo, Kegari. Rollins came, he was telling us, I used to eat yo, Kegari. Why didn't Rollins say I used to eat Gobe? Was there any word like that?
But for those who patronize gari and beans, Gobe is what moves them, and they are not running away from it.
Journalism is actually having the faith that Gobe is highly nutritious and is good and should be encouraged.
I don't know about I'm going to toast it, and I'm a patron. I'm going to toast it, and I'm going to patron. Me pedo me won. No mama ko toast it. Jane and so toast me pen game and so pay. I'm a patron. I'm
We go back to Yokegari. I don't know about you, but there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. IMFDU, electricity tariff hikes, tax reforms, key conditions in securing program. That's Ken Ofuriata. I was just wondering though, I've never seen a Ga person selling Yokegari, right? It's always the Airvest. But it's another debate that we can continue. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil is up next. I am Emefa Apawu.